In a world filled with sharks, bears, and killer bees, one man is brave enough to stay indoors to bring you the latest in gaming, movie, and pop culture news. That man is Tom Awesome, and this is the Outside is Overrated podcast.
Shit.
Birds, would you like to say hello to Craig?
I was going to say, whatever you do, don't invite Craig.
I have to invite Craig. He makes the show a lot better. Why do you want me to be a failure, Burns? Sweet Lord, why? Oh, God. We're fine. Everything's fine. Hello and welcome to Outside is Overrated Game Club. Today, we're discussing the first half of Assassin's Creed Origins by Ubisoft. This open-world game served as a soft reboot for the venerable series. Is it a solid launch point for new players? We'll find out. I'm your host, Tom Slotchick, and we're going to break down every aspect of this game for you. Joining me for the discussion today are the Hobbybox Joe Burns.
Heyo.
Not quite here yet, Munch Time John Munch. The ever-fancy... Oh, thanks for filling in for him. The ever-fancy Billy Parrott.
Ahoy, hoy.
The pensioner, Darren Mathwig.
Glad beer.
And the Professor, Mike Mathwig.
Gentlemen.
Outside is Overrated is presented by Premier Health. Check out their website at premierhealthmn.com. That's premierhealthmn as in Minnesota.com. In this monthly segment, we play a game with our community and invite all of our Patreon supporters to join in the discussion. If you want to join in, support Outside is Overrated on Patreon at patreon.com/OiO. You can help for as little as $2 a month. We'll start by setting some expectations. Assassin's Creed Origins is a massive open-world game set in Egypt. Here's what we're going to cover from AC Origins: combat, progression systems, exploration, and a spoiler-free discussion of the story. Assassin's Creed Origins released in March 2018 and has a Metacritic score of 83. In Assassin's Creed Origins, you play as Bayek, a Medjay, the ancient Egyptian equivalent of a sheriff. You start on a quest of vengeance against the corrupt leaders who killed your son in search of an artifact. Then you run from point of interest to point of interest until you have to record a podcast and you suddenly realize you barely touched the main story. So before we dive into Bayek's journey, let's start with combat. Bayek has a variety of weapons at his disposal. He can use different types of swords, spears, bows, and other tools. He can also dodge and block with his shield. So, as a group, what is your favorite weapon, and is the combat in the early part of the game satisfying? Really, you're at the top of the list, my friend?
Yeah, I just scrolled down and saw that. Sorry about that, guys. Fun combat, man. It took some getting used to because I played the other Assassin's Creed games, like the newer ones, Odyssey, Valhalla, and stuff like that. So coming back to this one, it got a little clunky at first, but it's really fun. It was a good time. I played around with, as far as favorite weapon, like the double daggers. So dropping the shield and getting 2 daggers at once. Man, you're fast. That's a good time right there. But the locking system, when you pushing R3 and stuff on the enemies that you're fighting, it get a little clunky at first, but I had a good time. It's good.
Hey, we got a bunch of FromSoft players on here. We're used to clunky lock-ons. That's not a deterrent, right? Question for you, Billy. Like, is the double daggers different from the short swords? Because, like, I use the short swords, and I have the impression that I still have a shield. Am I just blocking it impotently, or what?
Well, you don't get block then with the double daggers because you're getting those double hits. So you're a lot faster, but they're not striking as hard. So I found it a challenge, but a fun one to get used to the double daggers. So I'd like swap back and forth between the shield and short sword and jump over to the double daggers. But yeah, when you get a little bit more powerful and level up in this game, those can be a real fun one.
Yeah, I love the short swords. I use them all the time. I still tried blocking with them. I just didn't realize that I wasn't doing anything. So that's great. Darren, where'd you come in on combat and the primary weapons?
I enjoyed them for the most part. I actually am maybe on the other end of the spectrum, as I really enjoyed the big heavy weapons. You get a good whack on somebody with those, it feels good. And many of the kill animations are just awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I want to call out specifically, you recommended the spear in the Discord. And so I tried switching from short swords where I was right up on top of enemies, and I switched to the spear, and it drove me crazy because your basic attack sweeps from left to right. And like, I'm focused on a dude that I want to kill. And it's like the short swords, I jump right on that dude and I'm like, stab, 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 stab. Then I get to the spear and I'm like, sweep, 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 and like the charged attack goes straight ahead, which is kind of the action that I want for my spear. But I just could not get used to that wide sweeping arc, and like I could see utility if you're surrounded by dudes, but like mostly I'm like, I'm locked onto this guy. I wanna murder him.
Well, that's where when you finally unlock the ability to have two melee weapons and you can switch back and forth between them, really comes in handy because yes, the spear is great for crowd control. But yeah, when you're fighting one guy, I usually prefer one of the other weapon types.
Yeah, I didn't realize you could unlock a second melee weapon that you could just swap between. That sounds great. I'm gonna enjoy that. Bernsey, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, unlocking that is a must. So you can do that also with the bows. So you can switch between you can switch between two of the different bow types also. So I would highly recommend if you're starting the game, look at where those are at on the skill trees and try to get to those as fast as possible because it just opens up a lot of other avenues and especially as you get deeper into the game, you're going to need to be able to switch weapons against some types of enemies. But I think I think early on the combat is really satisfying. I was using for the longest time the sickle swords and the shield, just because I think the murder animations on those are pretty great, and they look cool. I mean, who doesn't like you've all seen It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, right? When they're in the dump and then look, I got an Alibaba sword. It's kind of like that. So who doesn't want that as their power fantasy?
That's great.
Oh, I need to switch weapons now. That's a deep cut with Always Sunny, Bernsey.
Mm-hmm.
So, thinking about all the tools that Bayek has at his disposal, do you feel like you had all the tools to succeed, whether you're trying to be stealthy or going full Tom mode through different pieces of content?
I think what the most frustrating thing I had with tools and stuff, yeah, there's no healing in combat. Like that was in the other future games, you get like rations and stuff, so like you could heal mid combat if need to. So you got to get really good with parrying and blocking and rolling out of the way and stuff with this. So that was a bit of a struggle to go through. The fun part of taking out people silently with the sleeping darts, that was a lot of fun.
I haven't used the sleeping darts yet. Bernsey, what are your thoughts on like the tools that Bayek has at his disposal, like the overall suite?
Yeah, I it does feel like you have a lot. I mean, it gives you a lot of options for sure. Having the ability to have the ranged combat with the different types of bows, and then the different types of weapons depending upon how it is that you want to approach combat, and then of course, as always, the stealth attack and the blade and everything like that. Once you get the assassinations unlocked, which is pretty early on in the game. Ultimately you do have a lot of different mechanisms there to deal with. When it comes to the actual tools that you unlock a little bit deeper into the game, and granted, it has been a long time since I started the game, but I haven't used the tool once. I don't even know what the keybind is to do that, or the controller buttons are to do it. Um, but yeah, otherwise, I think as you level up in the game, I think just becomes a lot more powerful because of the amount of damage that you can do, and trying to limit the amount of combatants in combat is always important.
And kind of doubling down on Burns' point about not knowing the key bindings for tools, like I don't even know if the tools are unlocked via the skill tree, if they're unlocked via the story. Because I'm 20 hours in and like I just have my melee weapons. Did somebody want to enlighten me?
Skill tree.
Skill tree.
Okay. Yeah, my first skill tree was all on the. Well, we'll get into skill trees later, but I haven't used a tool. I don't know how to use them either. Darren, what do you think about the suite of tools that you have, whether you're approaching the game stealthy or more aggressively?
They're okay, but unless if you're prepared to call the bows a tool, as opposed to a weapon, then I would rate them higher because the bows are generally pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think I
There's
take it as
one
Tom
weak
saying
spot.
like the metaphorical tools that you have at
Yeah.
your disposal and not the specific tools that he didn't realize were in the game.
But yeah,
Thank you for
otherwise,
clarifying Tom speak for everyone, Burns. I appreciate you.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, otherwise they seem fine, but usually it's as easy to go through without using them. So I would like to like them to have a little more utility. Although I've had missions where I've gone through super stealthy, never got spotted, which is great fun. Other times where I've had to run for my life to find a spot to hide and recover my health, and so I could get back into it again. So yeah, you can. I do not doubt you can manage as a real stealth guy or as a real Tom guy, and just
And like,
get in
I am
there
the
and
most
blast away.
I'm just the most impatient gamer because, like, I have the best of intentions. Like, I'm looking at a base,
No.
I'm flying up with Senyu, I'm marking all the dudes. I'm like, all right, here's where I can make my entry point. Here's where I can start doing assassinations. And then, like, invariably I get spotted. I'm like, well, okay, let's just roll with it from here. And, like, I've had one fortress where I was able to sneak in, like, kill the commander, steal the treasure before anyone else noticed me. I'm like, all right, that was satisfying. Let's never freaking do that again. But going back to like these metaphorical tools that may or may not be in the game, like I'm sensing a little bit of disappointment with things that I haven't explored at all. Like, are the non-weapons tools just a complete disappointment in this game, or what?
I'll comment because I know Mike has his own viewpoints on this, but like there's an item you can use to cause an opponent to go berserk and start attacking anything and everything. Only this one you got to sneak up to apply it, as opposed to say Black Flag, which had the same kind of thing, only it was a dart, which would be much more useful.
Mhm.
The fletching bacteria is fun, but it's very slow acting. So that very much, you got to be a stealth guy to really want that, and you got to be patient.
I'm out.
Firebombs are fun, but you can absolutely kill yourself as easily or possibly more easily than anybody else. So yeah, I mean they're there, and if you work on them, I'm sure you can make them good. But I don't know. I think they're as satisfying as either being really stealthy or using your more standardized weapons.
And Mike, do you want to rebut your brother before we let John finally jump in and share an opinion?
Well, the thing with the tools is they can be great. They can be overpowered, frankly, but it requires you to put points into things in the skill tree, obviously, and it requires you to adjust your play style to utilizing them to their fullest extent. They're not designed to just, I'm going to be in the middle of combat and then I'm going to start using these, except maybe the smoke bomb. Except, for example, the smoke bomb is great for getting you out of trouble.
Mhm.
The fire bombs are absurdly overpowered if you use them in the right places. Just for an example, last night I'm staring at a room that has like 8 snakes in it. I'm like, well, this is a problem, except that there's oil jars in there. So you throw a firebomb, break an oil jar, the entire floor gets covered in burning oil, and all the snakes die, and I don't have to do anything. It's just you got to think about how you want to use the tool. The tools are there for those who like to, strategize their encounters a bit. If you don't want to do that, you don't have to. That's the greatness of this game, is its flexibility. It's the most flexible Assassin's Creed they had made up to this point by a wide margin.
Or you could just look at those snakes with your bow, shoot a couple of them, then jump in and stab them all with your short swords. Also a viable option. Full Tom mode for the win.
Yeah, it took me exactly one button press to kill all 8. That's efficiency.
Efficiency is much like outside is overrated. John, where do you come in on stealth versus Tom mode?
Well, it's interesting that last exchange you guys had, right? So going back to this question, right? Do you have the tools? Yes. Whether they are the specific tools that only half of us have used, or just whatever you want, however you want to play the game. I think that you do have the things to either go full Tom mode or be stealthy, just use bows. I want to go through and just firebomb everything. So you have some options there. I do think that The game, though, like to me, it's tools and bow and stealth are the that's the main path, and like combat is the oops, I got caught, and it doesn't do things as well, right? I find the combat to be a little lacking, right? Because you don't have there's a little bit of everything is spread a little too thin, right? You can pick the way you want to do it, but even with the options you have, you don't have a world that's really allowing me to say, oh, this is a really interesting way to do stealth, or this is a really interesting way to do combat. It's just kind of like stealth is rinse and repeat. I'm going to go with Timu. I'm going to, not Senyu, not Timu, Senyu, and mark everything, go in there and just kill everybody with stealth, which I love. That's fun to me. Like, I like doing that, so I'm enjoying that. But like when I get caught, combat is always rinse and repeat, kind of the same. Oh, it's like I'm just gonna dodge and I'm just gonna attack, or I'm just gonna use my heavy attack to break their shield and then attack them. So I don't feel like the combat tree really does anything unique and fun. To me, is the weakest part.
What I think is interesting is I also love sending Senyu up and like marking all the dudes. Like, all right, here's what I'm opposing in the base. Here's the commander. Here's the path that I probably want to take. But then I'm more like, oh, they caught me. Like, ah, shucks, let's just stab everyone in the face. So it's interesting that we start on a similar path and then diverge so sharply.
I think it's just that I'm better at stealth games and don't get caught. So that's probably the real difference between us, Tom.
It might be the only one. Let's move on to progression systems, because I got a banger of a joke in here. As you kill enemies and complete quests, Bayek earns XP. At each level, his health increases, his damage increases, and he gains a skill point to put into one of the skill trees. Shoot, I totally skipped the point with the funny joke. We're gonna reset here for a minute so that I don't skip an entire discussion point. So we're talking about combat, we're talking about weapons and tools, everything Bayek has to kill enemies. The enemies have levels. For Bayek and for enemies, higher levels mean more damage and more hit points. Was that a satisfying way to scale the difficulty, or would you have preferred a bunch of cheap BS like in Hollow Knight Silk Song?
Does somebody want to go that played Silk Song? Because I feel like the joke's going to be lost on me since I'm the first one on the notes.
Well, Jory didn't play it, Mike didn't have an opinion, so I don't know, like, you know, Mike and I bagged on Hollow Knight Silk Song last month relentlessly because it's just, not a fun game. John, would you like to defend your beloved Silk Song?
I think the difference here is Silk Song is maybe hard from the get-go, right? And the difficulty doesn't necessarily scale. You just need to get good, right? In this, I don't see what I don't like about this is it's fine. You're gating content, making me level up. That's okay, right? Ooh, I can't go here yet because these guys are stronger. That's fine. But there's no real difference between the strength, right? You could just keep my health and my hit points and my armor and everything the same, and the enemies don't do anything different, right? They're all the same. So it's kind of like, well, it's just don't go here yet until you have enough health or you have a weapon high enough level to do enough damage. So it's the real, to me, you could have actually done more like Silk Song and just take out the leveling and just do a way for me to unlock the skills, because the skills are what make, or the tools are what make the game different and allow me to then approach different challenges differently, not me going up in level.
Mike, anything you want to rebut about the Silk Song comparison?
Well, I mean, let's be honest, though. Silk Song does gate things in a way because the areas get more difficult as you go through that game. I mean, what you're dealing with up at the top of, the map is not what you were dealing with when you started out by even the remote stretch. It really is. It's an area-based difficulty where area A is a lot easier than area E is by the time you get to area E. Where this game, because, it's... You can go anywhere you want to if you just want to start walking one direction and keep going until, you get somewhere else. You have to have a different way to approach difficulty. And I think this is as good a choice as any for an open world game to just say, you know what, everybody has a level and you can see what their level are in comparison to you. And, that tells you how likely difficult it's going to be if you want to get into a fight. Or you can, break it up by areas the way other open world games do. I think either one is perfectly viable.
I would say the difference, though, is with Silk Song, you're right. Certain things are locked behind. You have to get something to open up an area or go to that other area. But there's no way for me to actually if your level is if you're just a bad guy's a skull level in Assassin's Creed, right? You can't kill them. Like, you can't attack them.
Even if it's a bird, dude. Like, I wandered into an area, I picked a fight with a vulture, I got my butt kicked, it chased me across the desert, man. Like, and I'm just like running, like, oh god, don't kill me. I was a bird.
A bird.
So all right. So Hollow Knight Silksong comparisons aside, Billy, did you think that the enemies scaling up and level in different areas was a satisfying way to set the difficulty in Assassin's Creed Origins?
I think it was fine. You know what I mean? For what it was a new experimentation that Ubisoft was doing with the Assassin's Creed franchise. So, they're just kind of finding their feet in this game. And I think that helps build the future games. If we ever do discuss those in the future, you can see the progression that happens with the newer games and stuff. So I think it was a great introduction to it. I didn't mind it. It kept it going well. And yeah, there are those times where you wander into a different region, you don't even realize it, and you encounter a Falaki that's like 30 levels higher than you are, and you just get annihilated and laugh. So, it makes for a good time if you're just kind of effing around.
I did not laugh the first time I encountered a Falaki. For the record, I did not enjoy the encounter.
That was fun though, man. Those are great battles just to see how quickly they can just wipe you out. Even if you block, it just takes off like a third of your health bar. It's just hilarious to watch.
And that's the one interesting thing about the levels. And I don't know if like if I think that it's awesome or it's not, but even if you're over leveled from some of the enemies, they're still going to be hard to defeat because of like either like if they have a shield and they have different skills that they can do. And obviously the Falakis are, I don't even know how to pronounce the word. I don't know Greek. But it's one of those things where even those guys, if you're like 5 levels above them, it's still hard to take them down sometimes because of the abilities that they have. But sometimes you can also cheese some of that stuff. There was one that I lured on top of he was in a chariot. And so, didn't want to get run over by that. So I jumped on top of a building and tried to shoot him with a bow, but I apparently was sucky at the bow that day and missed. So he started climbing up the building. I ended up hitting him along the side of the building and knocking him off of it. And the fall did about 3/4 of the damage. So I was like, okay, this is a doable battle now.
Nice.
We'll take that. We'll take that win. The one thing, though, that's the case with some of the more difficult enemies. But otherwise, a lot of the other ones, you can kind of mow through them when you over level them pretty quickly. And that's one thing that I know I've found getting a little bit deeper into the game to the middle and late parts. If you are kind of going through from a completionist arc and trying to do like a lot of the side quests as they pop up before you advance into some of the sections, you end up like 3 to even 8 levels higher than the areas that you're in. And it does kind of trivialize some of the combat. Now, ultimately, if you end up getting surrounded by 5 or 6 dudes, that's still kind of tricky. And you got to, try to get to the bowmen first, try to take them down and everything like that. And then try to deal with all the shield dudes. So there's still some trickery in there and some skill that you have to employ in there. But that's one thing that it makes it a little bit tricky later on, is just that there's that disparity that you have over everything that you're doing.
And I like over leveling. It's like I like knowing that I did all this side stuff and like I can now impose my will on this story mission because like I'm 3, 4, 5 levels higher. It's like I put in the work, like I earned this edge over these opponents, and like I love that.
I guess I can agree to some extent. I think that the thing that's concerning, though, is when you look at a lot of the areas, and granted, I'm, I think, a lot deeper into the story than I think I am, just because I don't think you necessarily have to clear through all of the parts of the map just to get through the main story quest. And I think there's a lot of the outlying areas that are just kind of there if you want to go through them. So I think I'm actually getting a lot closer to the end game than I realized a couple hours of gameplay ago. So yeah, so maybe at this point I should be feeling like, yeah, it's fine to be over leveled for some of this stuff, but then again, also it would be good to have something that's pushing the buttons a little bit more from a difficulty standpoint. So you have to try to approach things a little bit more strategically instead of just mowing through things completely. Sometimes it's good to have the game push back a bit.
What difficulty did you select at the start?
I think I'm on normal. So if I pumped it up to hard, I would maybe find a little bit more of that difficulty. Does that also affect how you level?
I haven't
Like do you
tried it.
level
I don't
slower?
know.
Oh,
I
okay.
really don't know.
Well,
I
I
will
am
say
playing
that-
on hard, and I haven't noticed it's particularly crazy. But I would mention that if you go into the settings, there is an option you can turn on to scale your opponents with your level,
Oh, okay.
which sounds like might be something you might be interested in.
And for me, hard pass. Like I'm putting in the time, man. Like Bayek is BA. Like I am going to ride that wave, and I will crash down upon my enemies like Leviathan. John, I think you were trying to make a point in there.
Oh, I was just gonna say I'm playing on hard as well, and I haven't noticed any major difficulty. And again, maybe I guess that's where like my comments earlier too, like there's a little bit of that disappointment where like, oh, like it doesn't really feel like you have to use these tools to beat it on the harder difficulty. I can just go in and like be really good at being stealth and just kill. Like it doesn't make you like I don't think it impacts how they see you, right? Like, I don't think it impacts, right? I think it's just they have more health, right? They do more damage type of deal.
Apparently, it makes hippos harder because we had a little conversation in the Discord. Like you guys warned me about hippos, and I found my first one. I'm like, oh man, this is ominous. I don't know if I'm ready for this. And then I just like slaughter a whole herd of them. Like, huh? Apparently, short swords are better than whatever you guys are using.
Well, all
Hippos
depends
are
on what
deadly.
level the hippos are.
Yeah, hippos are deadly.
I teased it already, but let's move on to progression systems for real this time. As you kill enemies and complete quests, Bayek earns XP. Each level, his health increases, his damage increases, and you get a skill point in one of the trees. So, Darren, let's start with you. How did you build out Bayek's kit?
I went down the stealth route for the most part. Love the bows, the sneaking, and then that along with the tools side of it, which I think they call the seer route.
Yeah, the
So
sneaky is the hunter.
So combat's the least developed route I've been taking. Although, it appears if you're going to be like me and you just can't resist a sight or a question mark or side quest, there's going to be so many points that completing every tree should not be a problem. But
Mhm.
I did like the fact that even though you're going down one tree, there are places where you can kind of cross over if you want to get to certain aspects of the other trees. Although because there are so many points, that's probably less cool than it could have been.
And this isn't anything I put into the show notes, but it just popped into my head. Do you guys think it is a positive or a detriment that you get enough skill points to do everything on the skill tree? Personally, I think it's great. Like, if I get all the levels, like I'm glad that I can do all the stuff in the tree, and like I just prioritize the hunting path because I was having a lot of fun with the bows. But overall, is that a positive or a negative that eventually you're going to be able to get all this stuff?
I consider it positive for the most part. I can see the whole point of replayability, but games this big,
Yeah.
I'm not going to play it a second time.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Bill and Mike are our man, so like, people do it.
I think it's perfectly fine, and obviously they developed it for that to be the case. It would be cool if there was a couple of instances where along the skill tree, if you chose one path, it blocked off another path, or something along those lines. But the game isn't really built to do that type of stuff. You're not like turning Bayek. Like Bayek isn't supposed to be like the warrior you craft him into. So you're not gonna go into the game and be like, oh, I'm gonna do an all magic build, and then I'm gonna do double shields. You're not gonna go into this game with that. So I think it's fine. The one thing I do think is neat about the skill trees is when you get to the end, the capstone ability of each tree, you can just keep putting points into that, which is just adding a percentage to the to like the damage that you do with those types of weapons, which is neat because then it allows you to sort of tool yourself towards the things that you really want to utilize.
Yeah, for example, on the hunter tree, the capstone is bows, and I was having fun with bows, so I'm like, I took the most direct path to the end of it, and I got an extra percentage point on my bows. I'm like, sweet. All right, now maybe I should do some of these others. Anything else you guys want to talk about with the progression systems?
I mean, I too went down the bow path, right? I think, but what led me down that route and actually where I started spending a lot of points was the gaming the system skills, where it's, oh, if you kill people in this way, you get bonus EXP, right? So like that is really what geared me towards, oh, well, where am I going to be doing most of my stuff? Oh, it's really, I want like, I'm like, it's funny that like bundle it with like, you also auto loot the guys, and I'm like, okay, fine, yay. But I was like, oh well, I'm probably gonna shoot people in the head a lot because I like to do the bows and like stealth kill them that way. So I'm gonna go ahead and like go that route because I'm getting that bonus EXP. And I'm like, oh, how can I do this faster? So then I was like, okay, the next one I want is the stealth, right? And then there's obviously like you have your 1 point throwaways. I feel like they put in that inner circle where it's like, get yourself more health, do this little quick attack, do this, like yank people off horses. There's some cool things in there. But again, where some of the skills that I'm seeing in the longer, like, oh, when am I going to use that? Like, oh, you can have Simu like attack somebody for you or bug them or this or that. And I'm like, well, I'll just shoot him in the head with my bow. What am I going to have my attack the guy for? Right. So there's things like that where I'm like, that just seems like a wasted point because I haven't been in a scenario where I could see that being useful because I have this skill, like, because I'm fast enough with the bow that even if I shoot, there's two guys next to each other. If I shoot one person with the predator bow, which is your zoom in, I can just quickly, as the other guy's going, oh my gosh, what happened? Just shoot him, right? And they don't automatically alert. So I'm like, why would I need to like have the bird go distract the guy or do something when I'm shooting this guy? I don't know. I don't get it.
Then if there's three guys, then you can have Senu harass one of them after you shoot the one guy in the head with the predator bow, and then go dispatch the other one. So then you can kill them, and you don't alert the entire camp. And so I think there are mechanisms for it. Still though, I think one of the best things about the game is that if there's things that you don't feel like are going to be useful, the game doesn't punish you for not taking that. Like I don't think there's a point in the game, now I'm not finished with it, where it's going to be like, if you didn't get that skill point with Senu to harass the enemies, then you're going to have the hardest time you ever could with this story mission. Like the game doesn't really do that. So that's a good thing.
Well, there's one specific instance that I'll push back. Like, there's a skill where you can change the time from like morning to night.
Oh, well, yeah.
And like, there's one specific quest where you can only meet the dude at night. And so, like, I ran around killing hippos for a little while, waiting for dust to fall. But going back to your hypothetical scenario, if there's 4 dudes there, you could jump onto one, assassinate him, hit triangle to chain assassinate another one. Then with the third one, you can be like, oh darn, they found me. Let them come.
Well, this will be a good one for John, but some of these skills will encourage you to do things that might seem kind of silly. Like I believe there's one where if you shoot somebody while in midair, you then get a little bit of bullet time to line up somebody else, which seems needlessly complicated, but I'm 100% going to be trying to do this all the time now, just because it seems really cool.
It is really cool.
Cinematic.
Oh yeah, it's a cool skill like that, and like I actually like that. That to me is like, oh, that one's a fun one, right, to do. having my bird bug people or like track people differently. Like, oh, you can like have your bird track animals for you and see their path. I'm like, I'm wondering if, is there going to be missions like Tom was saying, like, oh, you need this skill to speed up time. Is there going to be missions where maybe this would be useful, where I'm tracking someone and they can see their path? Maybe. I haven't run into anything, and I have been doing like all the side content as I progress because that's just how I play.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't run into where that's the only one skill, the night to daytime and daytime nighttime thing, has ever been used in a quest to help with the quest.
I think so. As you get a little bit into some of the higher level areas, there's like larger outposts that you have to take down that'll have more guys. In some of those, I can see that being useful to, once you sort of use Senu to mark everybody and kind of get an idea of where they're at, being able to know like what their route is without having to sit there and wait to see who's going which direction. I could see that being extremely helpful. To the point where I think that's the next point that I'm going to unlock. I haven't unlocked that one yet, but I noticed that last night or 2 nights ago when I was playing, and I was like, yeah, that would kind of be helpful in that situation that I just ran through. And so, there are uses for it, but you could still go the whole Tom route, kill the guys at the front gate, and then, let the commanders and captains come at you and just sort of hack away, die maybe a few times, regenerate, and go at it again.
Never die. I am indestructible.
Sure. No, you don't die. You desync.
Like I said, I never die. I'm indestructible. I should use my bow more, and like that would open up stealth a lot more for me. But the problem is, I really like getting up on guys and laying hands on them. Like I like that first ambush, and I like the chain assassination feature, and like I really like doing that. And then like invariably, someone else further along the parapet will see me. And it's like, all right, well, game on.
Tom. Tom.
Yep.
Have you opened up the ability where once you do the special attack with your weapon, you get a chain throw off of that?
No, I haven't, but that sounds very Tom friendly.
Yeah, because it's great because you use the R1, R2 combined special attack, you kill somebody, and then you grab their weapon from as they're about to die, you kind of hold them up, grab their weapon, and you chuck it in the back of somebody nearby to kill them too. So it's a 2-for-1.
I can say with 100% certainty that next time I open up this game, I'm going to find that skill and I'm beelining directly for it. That sounds great because like my short swords generate a lot of adrenaline, so I am constantly doing my special attacks too. That's one of the reasons that I love them. And like, I don't know, I think the combat is super fun. This game served as a soft reboot for the franchise, moving from its original stealth roots into a more action RPG style. Does it still feel like Assassin's Creed? And frankly, do we care?
I like that. Do we care? I don't care. It's still Assassin's Creed to me. Yeah, it's not just the linear stealth like the games were in the past. I think games can grow as a franchise and try different things. And the action RPG style for me in opening the world up while still being able to do stealth and stuff like that, 100% a great turn that Ubisoft did going this route for this game.
Yeah, like for me, one of the things that crossed my mind very early on was seeing how much of Far Cry has influenced what they're doing in Assassin's Creed, which is fine. Far Cry itself is an excellent game. But I will admit that my favorite assassination to date was the hippo in the bathhouse, which is a pure sneak. You got no weapons. So I do miss a bit of that extra emphasis they had on being sneaky, being able to figure out a way to sneak by or figure out how to assassinate a guard here or there so you can get to your target. So I do miss that aspect a little bit.
And like, I agree that mission was super duper fun. And like, I enjoyed finding like the ladder up, getting up on top, sneaking around. Cause I did desync the first time I tried that mission. Tom mode didn't work super well. I love that it's still an element of the game, excuse me, and like a story element that you have to do. But I love that it's not the main feature anymore. Cause like, I played the first two ACs. It was so long ago. The only elements I remember are hiding in crowds and like blending in with the peasants on the street, and then frantically running across the rooftops, trying to break line of sight, and then jumping into gazebos. So like for me, I don't really care that it's a departure from what AC was. this game, Assassin's Creed Origin, is awesome, and I love this total package, and I love having the flexibility to not have to play it as a patient stealth game.
Agreed. I was a big fan of the earlier ACs. I mean, I played all of them except for the one Rogue, which was kind of an oddity, but I played everything else up to this one. But by 2018, when this came out, it really needed shake up the formula. It had gotten, I think, pretty stale. And I thought they nailed this by making it, you know, sort of an action combat with RPG progression version of AC. It still was all about being in this historical era and this, you know, assassinate people storyline with your main character. It's still AC to me, but it's AC that feels different. And I think they crushed it. This is by far my favorite Assassin's Creed, to be, you know, fully transparent. So I'm all for it.
Yeah, I mean, I much more prefer action RPGs too. So, you know, I'm perfectly fine with this. I don't have a huge history with the series. I played the first one most of the way through. I loved it until a certain point, and I absolutely hated the game and wanted to throw it into Mount Doom. I started playing AC Black Flag a couple of times. So yeah, I didn't really have a big connection to the format of the previous games. But I do agree with Mike that it was something that modernized the series. And I think the fact that it's probably the only game Ubisoft makes anymore that still sells extremely well. So I feel like if they wouldn't have modernized the series the way that they did, I think they would have really struggled to keep to keep Assassin's Creed relevant.
So in addition, oh, man, this is going to be a rough one since I don't really edit it. So we've talked a lot about the combat and how this game departed from AC's origins. Let's talk about like the loot loop. In addition to leveling Bayek, you're constantly finding new gear and looting it off of enemies. You can upgrade this gear at Blacksmith. Bayek also has some set pieces of equipment like bracers and a quiver that can be upgraded with animal skins and other goods that you find. Billy, was the upgrade system for the gear a satisfying part of the loop, or did it break your immersion to have to stop to hunt crocs and other animals?
No, I thought that was fun. Going to the Far Cry comparison, that was a big thing in those games too. Hunting to upgrade and stuff like that, better tools, better weapons, upgrading bows, future Assassin's Creed games, more rations for healing and stuff like that. I think it's fun. You know what I mean? You're like, especially when you send Sinu up and you can see like the tags of what
Oh yeah.
materials people are carrying or animals are carrying. That's a nice help. So I think that's kind of fun, but I'm all for one for hunting to upgrade your character and stuff. It does hold a place in my heart as a fun time.
Well, it's fun in concept, and like I like sending Sinu up to like scout out the stuff and like find where the animals are too. But like I don't like breaking what I'm doing and like running to all the question marks on the map to have to hunt gazelles in the desert.
But the thing is more likely than not, you're going to be going past those things. And so, what it actually does extremely successfully is that as you're traveling 600, 700 meters to go to the next thing that you tagged, um, it has you looking around the environment to say, oh, there's some rams, there's some hyenas. I'll ride on my camel and start shooting them with my bow. You know, and this I think had to have been one of the first games that allowed you to loot while you were still on your mount, which was awesome. So it's just like, yeah, you know, shoot those things with the bow. It's like a minute of a detour. It was right where you were already traveling. And then it's like, okay, it broke up some of the travel for a little bit. Go a little bit farther, see if there's something else I see. And so having like those animals there, I think fills in that gap where it would just be a lot of downtime in the exploration, which is awesome. And then the fact that those give you the materials that are going to allow you to level that stuff up. I found a lot of the time, if I was just like really exploring areas, that I would just, oh, I have an upgrade available, and I go and do it. And it's just like, I don't think, and maybe earlier on, and like I said, it's been I last played the game. I picked up my save from 2020. And so a lot of time had kind of gone through, and I was about smack dab in the middle of the game when I dropped off of it back during pandemic season. And so it was one of those things where the earlier game, maybe it's a little bit harder to try to get some of those things leveled up. But now it's just like, oh, it's nice. I can upgrade this. Sweet. My bracer's better, so I'm going to take less damage, or I'm gonna deal more damage. I don't know. I really enjoy that part of the system for sure, and I like that everything just kind of, it does that thing that I really enjoy about like RPGs, is when each of the systems kind of fold into each other and does a really good job of like everything creating this cohesive whole. So you kill those animals as you're traveling to somewhere, gets you the materials to level up your equipment and abilities. All the while, you're still earning your experience to unlock new abilities, and it's just like it just all seems to flow really well. And so, given the fact that this was the first time, well, for Assassin's Creed anyway, that they did that, I'm pretty sure they had some help from the Far Cry developers to develop these systems, or at least some inspiration from that for sure. But yeah, I think they knocked it out of the park in this reimagining of the series.
Yeah, and I guess the piece that I was missing was thinking about the animals as I'm traveling from place to place. Because, like, when I finished a quest or something, I've been like, oh, those goats are here. I better murder all those I can, because, like, I never have enough goat skins. So I'll keep that in mind in the back half of the game as I'm moving from point to point. And I agree with you, Burns, and how well everything folds into each other and how satisfying that is. Another point I wanted to make, I really like the blacksmith. Basically, every weapon that you find in the game has a level, and you can visit a blacksmith and pay to upgrade it to your current level. So, like, if I really love the short swords, I keep leveling the short swords I've been using since the beginning of the game. So eat that, Breath of the Wild. My first purple weapon, it's grown with me, and like it's sticking with me forever. It doesn't break. It doesn't leave me behind. I don't have to pick up like a soup ladle to fight for a while. So like, good times. Good on you, Ubisoft, for the blacksmith system.
So 2 points. One, going back, what the blacksmith also can do for you in all vendors, right? If you don't want to go hunt animals, you can spend some skill points, which I've done, to unlock those materials from vendors. So like that's something that I did. Like, oh, I only need 3 more iron or this or that. Great, I do that, and then I also don't sell any of my stuff, so I can just dismantle all my gear and get resources as well. However,
I appreciate, John, that as well, but I appreciate the game limits the amount of supplies and materials that you can buy from the vendors too. So you can unlock it, but you can't buy like 200 steel or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like one vendor will have like 10. So it makes it like where you can't just cheese it all on one vendor if you've got enough money. So sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, that's all right. No, that's all right. I do think though that the upgrade system, I get it. It's nice, right? But basically now I've just picked one weapon and I keep that weapon. And like, there's like, there's a couple things. What I don't like about it is like, I have a couple yellow weapons and I like, oh, it's like $4,000 and it doesn't necessarily scale in the smartest way. Like you could have a level 23 weapon that's going to 24 and it's 1,000 gold. You could have a level 9 weapon that's going to level 24. And it's 1,000 gold. So it's like basically so you end up like, oh, I'm going to hold on to this weapon, but now I'm going to wait to upgrade it. So I like actually get 4 or 5 levels for the same cap once I get to that blacksmith at the next area. But your like orange or yellow weapons, right, which are better than purple, that's super expensive. And I never have enough money to upgrade those.
You guys are playing the game wrong. Color doesn't matter. I don't see color, guys. Just everybody should be like that. Is the number higher? Yes. Equip. Is the number not higher? Dismantle, dismantle, dismantle. You should be just grabbing whatever is the best thing that you could use for the weapon type that you're using. Dismantle the crap out of everything else. Some of the extra abilities that you get when you get the yellow weapons, sure, they can be helpful and handy. But higher number does better. More materials for the material god. Just dismantle the crap out of everything.
I'm fine with that on blue and purple, but you get like I have 2 bows that I've gotten. I think like through like quest stuff where you get health on hit, right? So it's the only way that I've seen to heal. And like that is crucial if all of a sudden like I am swarmed by a bunch of guys and I want to say, oh, let me like drop back and use like my fast bow to like get a bunch of health real quick. Like that's a strategy that I use, but like, now I got to spend like, $6,000 or whatever to upgrade it so it actually like does damage and can heal me. It's just kind of annoying.
I don't remember getting that, but it was a joy to dismantle.
Well, that's the thing we didn't really discuss with the weapons, but they don't just have like a number. They do 10 damage, 11 damage, 12 damage. There's, as you go on and they get more complicated, they add abilities to the weapons like poison or flame or healing, life drain, and that can really change how effective they are. And that's why the blacksmith thing is so nice. If you have a set of abilities on a weapon that you really love, like healing, you don't have to give it up just because you've out-leveled it, which you normally would have to do. And I don't know how you're short of money, because I always have more money than I know what to do with. I mean, I sell my old weapons now. I don't dismantle them. So I make a ton of money that way. I loot every, I'm going through a pyramid. I loot every canopic jar I find because I'm in a pyramid. Why would I not loot the jars? I got to get those embalmed, organs or whatever to sell. I always have tons of money. I mean, you could spend it all on outfits and new mounts if you wanted to, but I'm not that, excited about outfits. And, I figure one horse is about the same as another horse most of the time, or camel. So I can use my money to upgrade weapons if I want to without any issues.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up like the skills on weapons, because one of the reasons that I'm so drawn to the short swords I use, they raise my adrenaline on hit. So like they're the fastest weapon, and like with their skill, they're creating more adrenaline, so I get to trigger my special ability again and again and again, and I just love that. And now that I know that I can also chain an assassination on top of that, like, man, I am so excited to dive back into this game. And I already loved it, dude.
But if you don't upgrade your weapons, you don't even have to worry about money. Like, I don't even know how much gold I have. I probably have tens of thousands of gold just hanging out there.
Fancy horses, then. The horses also have rating. They're blue and purple and gold too. So
are they faster, or?
I have no idea. I've never really looked into it because, like I said,
to me, it's just cosmetic.
I was riding a chocobo the first time I played this game through most of it. So,
well, it's like a fever dream chocobo. That thing's a little bit creepy, where it's like a camel chocobo, like with extra legs. It's just like, I don't know. That thing scares me a little bit, but I ride it. I ride it just the same. So,
man, I need to get that thing. So to find these upgrade materials, if you're not just burning your weapons like Burns with reckless abandon, you're going to need to explore a lot. The world in Assassin's Creed Origins is huge, with points of interest scattered across the map. Were you guys able to go from like quest to quest, or did you have to touch every single question mark like I did?
I think the fact that all these points of interest make you want to go and touch all the points on the map. I mean, that's just me personally, but like the history lesson that you get in ancient Egypt and Rome and stuff, exploring Alexandria, Memphis and all that stuff. I mean, like Ubisoft like hired Egyptologists to help make this game. So the fact that you've got like historic accurate places that you can go and see, for me personally, made me want to go to every point on the map. So I really enjoyed jumping from question mark to question mark personally.
And I'll kind of bounce around a little bit, where if I really get into like the storyline of a quest chain that I'm in or something like that, or the main story quest, I'll see that through a couple of levels, or a couple of steps in the path. And then it'll be like, oh, okay, let's circle back around, go touch all the things, see what's there, get the extra pieces, kill the predator layer stuff, do all those things. And then it's like, oh, okay, let's jump into a side quest here, which some of the side quests are kind of wonky and funny. Not to the level of like, Yakuza Like a Dragon at all or anything like that, but there's still some that have some pretty good personality. And overall, I feel like, while some of the quests are still like your typical fetch questy types of things, I do think that they have enough personality around it. And in some of them, you get to see a lot more of the character of Bayek come to life, which I think is awesome within the side quests. Like, if you're skipping all the side quests, there are aspects of Bayek's character and the things that he's dealing with that you just don't even really see. So I feel like that's a really good incentive to try to push people to do more of that side content, because it really isn't filler. in the sense of just trying to give you more stuff to do. It really is fleshing out and making Bayek an even more fully dimensional character, and a lot of the other characters that you run into in the game. The exploration is amazing. I love exploring through Egypt, and I'm not the type of person that's like, oh, I loved Egypt. Like I could care less about pyramids, like growing up and all that stuff. It was never something that like caught my fancy. But I've thoroughly enjoyed going through and exploring every nook and cranny of the world that they've created. The one niggle that I have with this game is for the immersive events or the events that pop up within the world, that'll just sort of happen sporadically, where it's like, oh, I gotta free these bandits, or help against a predator attack or something like that. There's this big sort of black circle with a white exclamation point in it that feels like it's always on the screen, and nothing breaks your immersion more than like having this black exclamation point sitting somewhere on the screen, and it's just like, I don't need to see that there. Like everything else except for what you've clicked on with Senu or on the map, everything else is just along like the top bar, which is your compass as to where you're pointing at. I feel like that could have easily been up there instead of just being flat in the middle of the screen a bunch of the time when you're doing other things.
Yeah, and when you pair that with those activities being like the least interesting parts of the
Yeah.
game, it's like, oh, that's kind of a bummer. It's like if I see the rebels fighting the dudes, I'm like, you guys probably have it. Like, and I've killed enough hippos and crocodiles, like, I'm good. So like, totally agree with you there, Burns. Darren, what are your thoughts towards all of the points of interest on the map?
Like most of the, I gotta touch them. I gotta go see what they are. But the world it's a great world. It's beautiful. It's fun to traverse in. So that's all great, and also makes it a lot easier to solve your Papyrus Scroll mysteries because you've seen everything. And I
Yeah.
enjoy those quite a bit. Also, a great place to get those gold weapons. Just saying.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta get them gold. So, Mike, I know that you platinumed this game before. So, like, in this playthrough that you started specifically to discuss this game with us, are you just going like crit path? Are you just going story beat to story beat?
That was my intention. It really was. But I've discovered that I think I have a problem. It physically hurts me to bypass things that I can get to. It's like I just got to go there and get that little pop up that says you got it and got that little bit of experience. It's just a need I have in these kind of games, and I can't turn that off apparently.
Well, it's also like every little thing is so fun, right?
It really, I love this game and I love this world, and so yeah, I'm all for just bopping around and finding locations. Maybe I stumble across a side quest which turns into something surprising or interesting. It's a good time to just move around the world and find things, and I love games that reward you for doing that, like this game does.
Yeah, well, fortunately, John came in wearing his Crit Path shirt. So, like, John, you're just walking directly story quest to story quest, right?
No, you have to touch all the things, right? And like, I mean, like, look, Witcher 3 is one of my all-time favorite games, and of course, that is like question marks everywhere. Let me get them all. I think what I really like what Assassin's Creed Origins does here, though, is it does separate out some of the items, so I know, oh, this is going to be like a point where I go and I get my synchronization, or these are quests, and these question mark things. It removes the need. I still go look at all of them, but it's not so imperative because I know, like, oh, it's probably just a bandit camp or like a hippo lair or like a treasure thing, right? So the question marks are lesser things to dig into, which I appreciate because to me the quests actually are done really well, and I like those. So I want to make sure I'm doing the side quests because they really build out the different towns and the areas you go into. And so I like the fact that, like, no, they highlight those, go do these things, and while you're doing those things, the other things you kind of find along the way, or oftentimes will be like the end point of one of those quests, like, oh, go find my wagon, like, okay, oh, it was this question mark that was a camp, so great, I killed two birds with one stone.
Yeah, that would be one of my minor niggles with it, was that before you realize that you really should be doing your side quests first, the number of times where I cleared a camp and then I do a quest and I'm like going back, it's like, I've been here. I cleared everything. Everybody's back alive again. This isn't fair.
How did you come back? What necromancy is this? Yeah, I've had that same experience. So we've talked about how awesome like exploring everything is. Why don't we go around the horn and like share one of your favorite pieces of the side content, and then we'll move on to the next thing. So Darren, we'll start with you.
For me, there's a death cult murder mystery. It's strung out over like I think 4 separate quests. Really enjoyed that one.
Is that the one where you're exploring the shrines?
Yes.
The
Where there's,
scorpion. It's like you see the scorpions on
the scorpion
painted on the
sign.
wall. Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. I haven't completed that one yet. I'm only halfway through it. Billy, what about you?
I'm always a sucker for going into an enemy garrison and just wiping everything out is always a good one for me. I don't know if we can jump into it. I see Burns has got a touch on it, but if we can spoil like a side quest, there is
Yeah,
there's a Final Fantasy 15 collaboration side quest. That's a lot of fun because I was a big Final Fantasy 15 fan, so having that integrated into the game was pretty cool.
I hope it's Cup of Noodles. Is it Cup of Noodles?
It is definitely not Cup of Noodles. Oh my god, that side quest.
I was hoping Cup of Noodles.
Yeah, that the best side quest in any game ever is from Final Fantasy 15, the Cup Noodles quest. Yeah, and I feel like it's really brief. It is like insanely brief. And if I remember correctly, in Final Fantasy 15, the AC collab part of it that was in Final Fantasy 15 was also super brief. But yeah,
it was like an Assassin's Creed like festival that was happening in the Final Fantasy world.
But yeah, I think it is neat. You know, there's a little bit of a puzzle to solve, and then you get kind of some, or at least it harkens back to some classic Final Fantasy weaponry. And then you get the camel chocobo mount of horror. But also on top of that, the pyramids were super cool. Like, you know, and when I was first playing the game, you know, you could first see them on the horizon. It's like, okay, that's really neat. And then, you know, when you finally go up to one of them and you're like, oh, I can go inside. And then it's just like, it was some of the most wonder I think I remember feeling in this game was just like, this is so cool going into this place that like was supposed to be locked up and everything like that. And if I remember correctly, because it's been 6 years since I did it, there's like a main story quest that goes into one of the pyramids. Is that right? If I remember correctly. And I remember that being like super elaborate and some interesting stuff that happened in there. So yeah, I think like exploring pyramids, you know, you see them from afar, and then as you get up close to them, climbing up them is super fun because some of those are like the synchronization points. So yeah, the pyramids would be top of the line for me in that sense.
For me, it was really silly, but I really enjoyed the last bodyguard quest. You get hired by this merchant, and like you have to like follow his bratty daughter around, and like you're doing all these asinine things. You got to go and get her horse, and like she wants to buy these linens, so you escort her to the market, and like you have to hold these linens, and then bandits steal her horse, and you have to chase after her. And like I don't know if I still needed those linens, so I'm like running across the desert with one arm with a bundle of linens until I get to the bandit camp. It's like, oh, I just got to kill these dudes. All right, well, I'll put the linens down and kill them, and it's like, oh, okay. It's just so silly and lighthearted and fun. Like I really liked the last bodyguard quest. John?
I enjoyed that one too. It kind of like brought out like, you know, the dad stuff with Bayek, which I think is great how they keep touching on that. One of my favorites though was actually I did it last night. So there's the City of Sand. I forget, it's where you go to find the scarab guy, Lacropolis or
Metropolis.
Yeah. So like when you're there, right, basically they're trying to like, you know, you learn very quickly that, oh, this whole city was buried in sand, right? And like the way you like, you can come and you can unbury your house and you get a house. Great. Right. Well, you run into this guy that's like freaking out because he unburied his house and there's some creepy hieroglyphics inside. And I loved how like one, the guy is just so superstitious and scared, but how like you talk to other people, piece together this message, and then it like leads you to find like this area that like was really cool to see. And then you just get like this really cool history about why the town is the superstitions around the town and all this stuff. So I loved how it brought, again, the side quests brought more story to the area, in a way that, like, if I wouldn't have done this quest, it doesn't hurt anything, but it really like adds to like, oh, this is why this area is like it is.
Yeah, a lot of awesome. Oh, go ahead, Brian.
I would have to say that this game is probably a favorite of funeral directors, because to learn about ancient embalming to the level that you do by playing through various side quests of this game has to just be fascinating for them.
Mhm.
You know, we've been talking about this game for like an hour now, and like it feels like we're all in kind of a similar place. What makes Egypt such a strong setting for this game?
It's beautiful. I mean, it is. I mean, they did their research, and during these ancient times and stuff like that, you learn a lot about, the Roman Empire coming in during Cleopatra times, Caesar, and all that stuff. So it's historically accurate. And I mean, with all the silliness aside of, the Order of the Ancients and all the Brotherhood and stuff like that, you still learn a lot, and it's really cool. So I thought the immersion of Egypt was a fantastic setting. And yeah, it's cool to see the pyramids in the background, and you can ride your horse to them, explore in them and everything. So it's both a fun exploration and a history lesson at the same time. So I thought it was wonderful.
Yeah, it's a great period in history. I mean, it's an area of the world that has so much history and their politics and religion. There's a lot to learn, and it's all super interesting. It's like just a great setting for a game or a book or whatever. And also, I am a bit of a sucker for deserts when I'm playing games, and it's awesome.
Yeah, it's the best and most fully realized Assassin's Creed world they had done up to that point. Maybe still is actually. Someone said earlier they called it ancient Egypt, but it isn't ancient Egypt. This is actually Alexandrian Egypt, time of Cleopatra. Quick aside: Cleopatra's grandfather was a Greek, Macedonian general from Alexander the Great, and he took control of Egypt and founded this dynasty. And a bunch of Greeks came in, which is touched on quite a bit in the game. The interplay between the native Egyptians and the newer Greek settlers and the Greek culture that's kind of overlaid on the Egyptian culture. But the Egyptian culture is thousands of years old at this point. And so you actually have the modern Egyptian culture you're interacting with, and then you run into the ancient Egyptian culture when you go into some of the pyramids are already crumbling. The Sphinx is already incredibly old at this point. So you get this wonderful interplay of the current Egypt and the ancient Egypt as you're exploring. And it's a beautiful world. The quick aside, when I first played this game, the Platinum, you have to locate and clear every single location on the map, which is ridiculous, and I don't recommend it. But in doing so, at one point you swim across the Nile and you find a spot that's way off, tucked on its own. I remember sitting there, looking around. There's birds flying over here. There's a bunch of hippos in the water here. There's a Roman ship sailing to my left. And in a minute, I'm going to jump off this rock. I'm going to swim over there, and I'm going to murder every single mother son on the ship because it's got a question mark, and I need to clear it. But it was just nice just to sit there and enjoy looking across the Nile, seeing the pyramids in the distance. It's such a beautiful world to be in as a player. It's an absolute home run on their part.
That's going to end up being the end of civilization, isn't it? Everybody's thinking with AI and Skynet and everything that's going to be the end of civilization. What it's going to be is we're all going to get Neuralink implants, and all it's going to do is we're just going to see a question mark in our eyes, and it's going to be going somewhere, and we're just going to go over there and slaughter everything. And that's just the downfall of the human race.
There's nothing to do about it. Got to clear them all.
That's right.
Let's close out with a spoiler-free discussion of the story. You play as Bayek on a quest to exact vengeance for the murder of his son. In the meta, you are playing as a rogue Abstergo scientist with a portable animus running a risky mission for her own glory. So, did we enjoy both sides of that coin, or was it tough leaving Bayek's perspective, or did I play so little of the critical story that I haven't even scratched the surface on the story yet?
Well, one really cool thing I noticed. I don't know how to answer that. One really cool thing I noticed though, since we just watched the Assassin's Creed movie for the video game movie show last fall, or last winter, were the direct references to that and how the characters in the movie, which I don't know if those characters existed outside of the movie in Assassin's Creed prior to that. But the events that happen directly in the movie are referenced in some of the materials that Layla has on her computer to look through, which I think is neat. And her direct connection to the main female pro antagonist in the game and in the movie, which I think is pretty neat to sort of see the connection and loss of connection of Layla to Sophia that's in the Assassin's Creed movie. So I think that's pretty neat. In that also they have a lot of connections to Watch Dogs being part of the Assassin's Creed universe also,
Yeah.
which I think is interesting. I don't know if it's supposed to actually bring it into the same world or if it was supposed to be more of an Easter egg. But that was another thing that I thought was interesting because you definitely see a picture of Aiden Pierce assassinating someone who is the main character of the first Watch Dogs. So I thought that was pretty neat too.
So the first time I pop out of the Animus and I'm walking around and I go to the computer and I open it up, I'm like looking at all these files and I'm like, oh man, this burns gold right here. Like I guarantee he's gonna read all of this. And I started reading through them. I'm like, oh, that's a movie reference about the stupid arm that Fassbender had to be shirtless on. Okay,
Yep.
well, like I'm glad that I still hate the movie with the burning fiery passion, but it's like, oh, well, they acknowledge that it exists. Like they didn't separate it from their own lore. That's interesting. Did anyone else have thoughts on like the meta versus Bayek, your time in Bayek? Like I know that's a staple of the Assassin's Creed games. You come out of the Animus, you're in the real world for a while, like but it's been so long since I played those games, like I didn't really have a frame of reference for it.
As usual, I blasted through those sections as quickly as I could to get back to the main story, in this case, Bayek. How many people,
Is there anything of
what
value
percentage
outside
what percentage of players actually understand the quote real world story? Because it
That's
feels always
early.
supposed to get tacked on.
Well,
Yeah.
and they've basically abandoned it in the more recent games, right? Like there's very
Like-
little of anything that happens in the actual real world, right? Maybe I'm wrong. I haven't played anything other than Origins.
It's much less than it used to be. I mean, by the time
Yeah.
this game came out, I really felt like the fan base had split between the group that was still heavily invested in that whole precursor meta story and those who didn't care about that at all and were 100% about, the past story and the world they were in, which count me as that.
Mhm.
I stopped caring about that whole meta story by the end of Assassin's Creed Revelations, which was a lot of games ago.
Mhm.
And I think they were very wise in what they did. Is it's still there? You can still interact with it to some extent, especially if you want to dig through her computer. But they don't force it on you to the extent that they used to, where it was such a significant portion of the first, 4 or 5 Assassin's Creed games. And I really think it was a wise choice to kind of make it more. You can interact if you want. It's still there, but we're not going to shove it down your throat. For those who care about it, they can put their time into it, and those who don't have to.
It's just unfortunate the movie didn't take that same tack because, like, the movie forces so much of the real world on you, and like it just drug the experience down. But for more on that, you can check out our video game movie shows from December of 2025. John, I'm sorry, you wanted to make a point, but I had to make my
No,
funny
it's-
movie take first.
It's okay. Make your jokes. It's all right. So I, just, point of order. I also looked through the entire laptop and read everything that was in there. Like it was cool to see the connections back and like, oh, this is how it's a reboot and this is how this character's connected. Great. I like that. But also like, I don't need to walk around as this person looking for files on the ground in just like I actually really like the meta story as a through line for the entire franchise. And I think it's cool, and to have that there to say, oh, this is why the Ancient Ones is important, because, you know, the bad guys are talking about we're part of this ancient, you know, one sort of like mythos, and like that ties into that whole thing with the story and the bad guys. And I like how that ties through the entire series. But like, just give me a cutscene, right? Like, just desync me and say she wakes up and I see this person and like there's the character, give me the story, and then say, oh, I found this other mummy, right? Great. Now that's why you're gonna sync to that one. Like, just make it smooth and cinematic. And to me, that then would make that so much more impactful, and you'd like everybody, you'd have more control over that. I don't want to like, I want to be Bayek. I don't want to sit and run around as like some scientist who I don't know about, who's barely said anything, right? But I'd be interested to see how this Bayek story is tied into the real world with this, you know, shadow operation organization. That's kind of cool. Just show it to me.
Yeah, I agree with that. I kind of equated the meta world exploration a part of it as kind of like playing Mary Jane in the Spider-Man games. You're like, I just want to get back to Spider-Man.
But like Mary Jane's iconic, man. Like Mary Jane is a critical part of the Spider-Man experience. Like, what's her name? Scientist, not so much. So like,
Layla could
Mhm.
be. Just give her a chance, Tom. Let her grow into it.
not a chance, not a chance. So like coming back to the AC origin story that most of us care about, it focuses on Bayek. So like as a protagonist, he's generally well regarded. I just wanted to take a moment and talk about what makes him a compelling hero.
It's a good, true revenge story. Great protagonist. The voice actor for the guy for Bayek, he was wonderful. You could feel the pain in his voice with the death of his son and the sorrow he feels with his wife and stuff like that. Um, yeah, great character all around. I absolutely loved him, and it's as John mentioned in some of the side quests that you do, you can see the fatherly side come out of him when he like talks to children or like mothers and stuff like that. So I thought they did a wonderful job.
Yeah,
and
and they
we-
bring that through all the time, right? Like all the side quests. Oh, this like main quest where there's kids in it. There's a quest, like a side quest where like he's just helping someone who's pregnant, right? Like
Hmm.
they really lean into like him as the magi helping people, right?
Hmm.
But also like helping kids and families. So I love how like the the emotional impact Bayek is there with the actual like why he's doing this, him and his wife and everything they're doing, but also like they show it in little moments throughout the game.
yeah, he's got true emotional depth, and they show it across lots of different levels, both in terms of his personal grief, his hatred for his enemies, but also the little ways he interacts with so many of the side characters and side quests, where they get opportunities to bring out a little bit of the humor and a lot of empathy, which also means they had to actually build up at least some aspects of some of these side characters so he's got something to work with.
Mm-hmm.
They did a really good job. And yes, the voice actor was really good.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and going off that point, I think that is the other because like Billy had said, Bayek's on this revenge tour through Egypt, and I think the really interesting aspects of the character you get to see are the way that other the side characters in some of the main quests and also in some of the side quests, um, how they interact with Bayek knowing the journey he's on. And, some characters obviously are going to want to manipulate that to get him to do their dirty work too. But a lot of the characters that knew him kind of from before or whatever are worried about what this is turning Bayek into. And I really think sort of plumbing that depth of how the characters are seeing the main character, and then how he's internalizing a lot of that as you go through the story as well. It's just all really interesting, and I think in the next episode when we can get into spoilers, we can really talk about maybe some specific examples of some of those things in more detail that I thought were just extremely well done with like not a lot. It's not like they're just shoving some of this stuff down your throat either. They're doing it in a way that makes sense with the quest that you're doing or the storyline that you're experiencing. They're not just sort of bashing you against the head with, this is how Bayek feels now. This is how other people feel towards him. It's just really great storytelling through all of the different mechanisms they have to tell the story.
You guys think it's a little weird that everyone wants to bang his wife? Because that's a little over the top. And like Burns, I agree that they're not hitting you over the head with a lot of the emotional things that Bayek goes through. But like, I've noticed multiple male characters commenting on how wonderful and attractive his wife is, and it's like, that's Bayek's a lot more patient with that than maybe I would be.
So you're just saying you'd just kill him right there on the spot?
I mean, the dude with the hippodrome probably, like, that wouldn't have been a fist fight in the street. That would have been
That
a short
guy-
sword fight.
That guy was a jerk, though. He was horrible. Like that guy was he was bad, right? Don't race me. Like I wish you could race him. That's where I was like, oh, I thought I was gonna get a quest to race that guy because the hippodrome races were kind of boring. I did a couple of them, like, oh,
Yeah.
this isn't that great. But I was like,
Mhm.
I want to have one where like I race this guy and then our chariots crash and then we actually get into a fight in front of everybody and it turns into a Coliseum thing. And that's like not a drunken brawl in the street. I want a gladiator battle this jerk and take him down a peg. They did not do that.
As Burns gives the thumbs down. Love it. I think it's fair to say we're all enjoying this game so far. Some of us so much that we've platinumed it and playing it a second time. So, like, what are we hoping for from the back half of this experience as we play this for one more month and wrap up our thoughts in the middle of June?
So my main hope is that as I get to the end of the game, it doesn't completely cheapen things like the original Assassin's Creed did. Because that was another one of those experiences where I was like all in. I was loving what I was experiencing. I was enjoying the world that I was exploring and the story that they were telling. And then it got to the point where it's just like, oh, well, the game is going to be a million times harder for you to do anything because people are going to notice you instantly no matter what you do. And I hated that game after that. From that moment, I doubt I'll ever go back to play it again. And so as long as this game doesn't pull something like that and has a nice sort of wrap up to the experience, that's, I guess, what I'm looking forward to and hoping for. And maybe even a little bit more tweaks to some of the combat encounters you have so they don't start to feel more and more samey as you get through to the end.
Going back to the original AC, like, we took different roads or different paths to the same endpoint, my friend, because, like, I just hated that experience from beginning to end. Like, I don't know why I played the entire game. I guess I got so far into it, I'm like, all right, well, I gotta finish this turd. But the second Assassin's Creed was actually a phenomenal improvement on the formula.
Yep.
For AC Origins, I just hope I can touch every single thing. Like, it's just, I'm like Mike, like, I see that question mark pop up and like, man, I know I got to do story quests and like we're gonna have a critical discussion of the story and like I need to see all that, but it's like, oh man, that question mark is just like 200 yards away when the story quest is like 600. It's like, just gotta touch them all, man.
Yeah, I mean, you can always go back. That's the thing. It's just one of those things. You can keep going on with the quest that you got and then go touch that question mark later. It'll always be there.
No, I gotta do it now. No, I'm pretty sure. Like, gotta get the good loot now so that like when I'm over level, I'm just mowing through everything.
Yeah, I fear I will be disappointed. I would just like at some point to find a vantage point that pushes back the fog of war like it used to.
I
That's
do
one
miss
thing I
that.
do miss. That was such a good effect, and I'm sad that they took that particular part out.
Well, it made
But
them
on a
so
more
valuable.
serious
Right?
note, yeah, on a more serious note, I do hope that my desire to chase down those question marks does not wear me out so I don't finish.
Well, what do you think the realistic possibility is of that, Darren? Because like, do you play a lot of open world games? I play very few, so like I don't run into similar situations all that often.
I play a lot of open world games, and I hit 80, 90% in quite a few, and then I don't quite finish.
Mike, would you like to berate your brother for that? Because, like, you know, you platinum this game.
He's a quitter. What can you do? Some people are quitters. And some people
Billy, you've already beaten this game. Like, you going to keep playing through it with us to discuss it next month to like talk about the whole experience, or like where are you at with
Yeah.
your second playthrough of AC Origin?
Yeah, I'm at level 30 already. I think I threw in the chat I was at the Memphis area and stuff like that. These games are great. I love them. I'm a Ubisoft fan myself. It makes me feel like I get my money's worth for these games. Can wiping things out be a bit repetitive on ends? Sure,
Nope.
but that just
Not a
causes
thing.
you to do different strategies and make that feeling of the same type of wiping out a camp. Like, what could I do this time around and stuff? You know what I mean? So I'm still going to go through the entire game, beat it again, even though I did it already. But that was years ago, so it still feels fresh to me, you know? So I'm looking forward to continuing this journey and talking about the second half of the game with you guys.
John, you love Hollow Knight Silksong. This is a much better game. Like, what are you hoping for out of it?
I want the story to keep delivering, right? That's the big thing. You know, I have a feeling if I start to get bogged down with like the sameness of the question marks, I'm still going to push through the quests because they've been really enjoyable. So I hope that I hope what we don't end is like that the quality of that starts to taper down. Like so far, every story beat I've really liked where they've taken it. It's been unique with each of these people that you've been hunting down. So I hope they continue to maintain that. I hope that, you know, the story comes to like a good crescendo at the end with, you know, a good ending. We'll see.
Two quick things I wanted to jump in with here. So, you know, since it had been so long since I had played it, the first half of the game before to now, I needed to get like a bit of a refresher on like what the heck was going on, what in the world was going on with the story. And so I started watching a recording of a streamer, Co-Carnage is his name, if any of you have heard of him before, when he was playing through the game when it first released. And I think the testament of the game was after I got a couple hours over time, like 3-4 hours into watching him play the game, I like had to stop watching because I just needed to play. Like I was sitting there watching it on YouTube, holding my controller, wanting to like control what he was doing. And I think it's just the game just is so much fun to play that was like it had me like aching to sort of go back in and do that. So once I got enough of a refresher of where the story was, and I started to remember some of the stuff that had happened, I was like, okay, I can jump in now and do that. And then if anybody from like listening to this wants to jump into the game, one quick like hint that I want to give you is you can basically make it so that you have no fall damage no matter what happens. As you jump from basically any height, as long as you hit right before you land the dodge button, you will do a parkour sort of dive and roll and not take any damage. So that would be my little hint to you as a little bit of a sort of intermediate level skill to ramp up your enjoyment of the game.
Birds, are you just like flying off of everything? Like, I look where I leap, and like I'm the least patient person on the planet, and like I don't murder by leaping off of towers.
Sometimes it's like I see the path that I need to go down to get down there, or I could just jump, you know. And as long as I don't take damage, it's like I'll take that direct route. If I'm going this way, I don't have to go all the way around to the right. I'll just jump and, you know, hit square at the right time, and then just roll and move forward. And then Bayak looks like a badass to everybody.
Yeah, tuck and roll. This guy's falling out of the sky, and he just like does a little like somersault at the end. And he's okay. Like,
and he's okay.
Power of the Magi. Let's go.
Yeah, that's their superpower. So that's our first part of our discussion on Assassin's Creed Origins. Next month, we're going to wrap up this discussion. We're going to talk spoilers on the story and like give our final impressions on all these different elements of the game. So I hope that you'll listen and jump in and play with us. On the main podcast feed, we just dropped our board game episode on 3 very fishy board games, Fleet the Dice Game, Lure, and Finspan. Next month, we're going to break down the tabletop RPG Dungeon Crawl Classics. So thank you so much for listening to Outside is Overrated. Please support our show on Patreon at patreon.com/OiO. And until next month, stay inside, kids.